this happened to a huge extent in the 80s under Ariel Sharon as agriculture minister, and basically they declared a huge tract of the West Bank state land and gave Palestinians 3 weeks to appeal. The burden of proof was on them to prove that they owned it. And now if you're a farmer living in the middle of nowhere, you may not even be literate. Many of them aren't. And this happens to you, you might not even be aware that this has even happened. There's also like outright theft of just settlers going and squatting on your land saying, this is mine now, I'm gonna live here. Too bad. Any appeals to the Israeli government usually go ignored. The other thing is buffer zones. After you get an Israeli settlement in some place, whether it's on Palestinian private land or not, the Israeli military feels it has the duty to protect them. And what's the best way to do this? Establish a buffer zone around them where none of the Arabs are allowed to go. So now not only have these Palestinians lost this plot of land, they're not allowed to access their land that's around it. And guess what? If they haven't cultivated that land that's around it in 3 years, the settlers many times feel free, I've seen this with my own eyes, feel free to go in and start planting their own crops and say, okay, this is ours now. There's also, you connect all these Israeli settlements and you don't want any Arabs on your roads, so you, for good reason, for the reason that there's a lot of violence between both sides. So what do? You build roads between all these settlements that are Israeli only. Now, that causes a whole lot of problems. One, because a lot of the land that's expropriated is from a Palestinian's farmland. Two, they're not allowed to use the road. Three, they're sometimes not allowed to go to the other side of the road to get their stuff. My friend in Nablus, I went to visit his village at the end of my stay. He just points to over there, like, what's that? Oh, that's the road. They took it from my cousin. He's a shepherd. I met him later. And he's telling me, yeah, I can't go to the other side of my land. They expropriated that from me. If I go to the other side, the settlers beat me up, and that's what happens. There's also lots of checkpoints between different cities within the West Bank. If you try to go from one city to the next, you stop, you're searched, etc. And I can understand why a checkpoint between the West Bank and Israel proper would be necessary for the security of Israeli citizens. But what does someone in Tel Aviv care whether someone goes between Nablus and Ramallah? It makes no difference to them. It makes a difference to all the little settlements you're trying to keep safe in between. There's also the security barrier. There's a wall being built between the West Bank and Israel proper. And the problem is it's being built deep into West Bank land to surround these settlements, expropriating yet more land from Palestinians. There's also a severe lack of police protection from Israeli settlers who, even according to many Israelis, pretty much run amok and do whatever they want when it comes to Palestinians, including stealing land, beating people up, etc. So let's go to like a concrete example. These are pictures from a town called Guer. It's right outside Hebron, where I lived for the last 3 months of my time there. And we have there's a situation where people from the nearby settlers from the nearby settlement of Kiryat Arba, one day got up and decided they wanted that piece of land over there. They literally built a shack in somebody's backyard. It's literally like 20 meters from the guy's house, and said, "This is ours now." The guy complained to the Israeli civil administration, Israeli military police, etc. Nothing was done. These are all pictures of the Palestinian protest group I was working with. They put on, along with a lot of Israeli activists, put on a protest where they went to this guy's land and they built their own structure, their own building right next to the settlement outpost, on land that even Israel agrees this guy legally owns. And what happened? As you can see, the settlers showed up, assaulted several people in front of soldiers. And what happened? The army declared the area a closed military zone, and said because of that, they evicted the owner of the land, the guests of the owner of the land from the land. Said you have to leave here because this is a closed military zone. And they explicitly allowed the settlers to stay. They explicitly allowed the people that they admit are trespassing on this guy's land to stay. Next thing, they razed the ground, the structure that the owner of the land had built on his own land because they said he didn't have a permit. Now, what they left standing right next to it is the Israeli settlement outpost that was built on somebody else's land, which they admit, and of course without a permit, they left it standing. Second, there were no arrests of, or even detentions of settlers who were performing violent acts right in front of The soldiers, including lighting things on fire, throwing burning things at people, etc. And several of the protesters got arrested. The guy on the top left is my friend Badia. He got arrested at this particular protest. And when you see that, when a Palestinian sees that someone is one stealing their land, going and claiming it, and that the Israeli authorities, instead of implementing the law equally, are supporting someone just because they're a citizen, while he's sitting on your land, saying, eventually we'll get to it, eventually we'll take your land out. What are they supposed to think? And this happens literally all over the place. After we had got the closed military zone order and kicked out, we went back to the main town, and like a lot of the townspeople had gathered, and they were talking to us, and a lot of them were like desperate. Like a lot of people were talking to me because I was the only one who could speak Arabic there, one of the few that could speak Arabic there. And they would be, oh, I'm mixing two stories. This wasn't actually, I wasn't actually at this one. I came at a different one, where I went with this, I was out with this Israeli activist group doing something else, and at the end of our trip, we went and to document the fact that they had built a second home in that area. We got there. As soon as we start take out the camera and start documenting the other house that had been built there, the settlers come out, just get straight up in people's faces, start screaming, start shouting things in Hebrew that I can't understand. Next thing you know, three guys with masks on, baseball bats, start coming up, start picking not like stones, like rocks, like this fucking big, start chucking them at people's heads. I almost got hit several times, barely dodged. The girl that was like right next to me got hit in the head, blood everywhere, taken to the hospital, etc. The Israeli army and police showed up. I think the head of the army platoon told us that, told the head of our group, "You're lucky I'm in uniform." Again, declared in the closed military zone, kicked out us who were the guests of the going into the land, and let them stay. No convictions, no arrests, nothing, despite the fact that we had this on camera, and there's only like 5 adult males in that place. It can't be hard to find the 3 people that were, even without masks on. And outside, I was talking just to regular townspeople, and they're just telling me their story, and they're just like, look, like I can't get to my land. What am I supposed to do? It's on the other. That's not even my land they stole. My land's on the other side. How do I get to it? Every time I go there, I get beaten up or whatever. I go complain to the police. They do nothing. They just tell me you have to bear with it. The main road of the town passes right by this place. People are afraid for their children. They have to walk to school and back on this. There's been several documented instances of settlers attacking their kids. Stuff like that. Another example. This is the town of Yanun. It's a small 200-person town up in the north, up in the mountains. It's an olive picking town. They all pretty much make their living on shepherding and picking olives, which is what a lot of people do there. And yeah, it was made briefly kind of famous in 2002 when the nearby settlers from Itamar, after years of harassment and violence, after a gunman completely unrelated to Yanun had attacked them, came into the town, beat several people up in their own homes, and then told them all that if they were still there the next Saturday, that they would kill all of them, basically. And then pretty much all 200 people in that town, except for one man who was a refugee from 1948 and said he would rather die on his land than leave it again. He was like 90 years old. I met the guy actually. All of them fled. Again, different groups tried to appeal to the Israeli military, the Israeli police to set up a presence in that town and commit themselves to protecting these civilians' lives, and they refused. They said